A lot of people are capable of working and are willing to work, but it's just the way it's set up. The mother and the children are better off if the husband isn't working or if the husband isn't there. And this breaks up so many poor families.
One of the saddest things is that many of the children whose parents are on welfare will in their turn end up in the welfare trap when they grow up. In this public housing project in the Bronx, New York, 3/4 of the families are now receiving welfare payments.
Well, Mr. Brown wanted to keep away from this kind of thing for a very good reason. The people who get on welfare lose their human independence and feeling of dignity. They become subject to the dictates and whims of their welfare supervisor, who can tell them whether they can live here or there, whether they may put in a telephone, what they may do with their lives. They're treated like children, not like responsible adults. And they're trapped in the system. Maybe a job comes up that looks better than welfare, but they're afraid to take it, because if they lose it after a few months, it may be 6 months or 9 months before they can get back onto welfare. And as a result, this becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, rather than simply a temporary state of affairs.
The reason why I wanted to react to this video is because I saw it when I was scrolling through Instagram, actually. And, you know, instantly when I saw this video, it reminded me of the constant conversation that we hear from especially Black women. Okay, we hear it from women across the board, because right now, like I said, this whole feminism has gotten to a point where they are just taking anything that's negative about a man. They don't care if you Black, if you whatever. They're using all the conversation and putting it together and owning it. But specifically, Black women have that I don't need a man, I could do bad all by myself mentality. And I thought that it was extremely important to pinpoint the root of that conversation. A lot of women don't realize that that conversation has been continuously passed down, but a lot of that conversation initiated when the whole welfare system was introduced to certain families that were lacking in a certain way. I don't think that a lot of Black women growing up understand the magnitude that whole welfare system played on the demise or of the relationship dynamic between the Black man and the Black woman. They can't possibly. You know, what's very interesting is that Black people are not the only people who are on welfare who are using the system back then or even now. Let's not get it twisted. Okay, let's not act like it's only, you know, Black families who were in the poverty aspect or under the poverty line, or even said that they were under the poverty line so they would be able to have certain benefits, whether it is even just as simple as food stamps or it's actually living in, a housing society. However, the demise of what it would take for the two of them to cohabitate under the certain conditions that were given to them, just like as this man, repeated in saying that, it was a little bit harder for them to even go and risk the opportunity of being off of welfare by taking a job, because if they get let go of the job, then it's not just like, maybe they may not be able to have food stamps, or maybe their lights will shut off. They would have nowhere to live. And when you're in a situation where your counterpart is already looked at as less than when he goes out into the working society in that time, the possibilities of him finding a job that is going to be able to not only pay the bills, but allow you to live what would seem like a comfortable lifestyle, a lifestyle that you're not accustomed to, compared to what you're going to be having based off of what the system is able to supply for you, is going to be vastly different. You see, if somebody else was maybe getting a certain job and had the opportunity to work and make a certain amount of money, it's very different than somebody who's maybe working a job that's making minimum wage, that they're just scraping by. Hence why the woman at the beginning of the video said that a lot of the mother and their children were better off basically replacing their husband with the system. Because if it was just his salary alone, we wouldn't be able to have the ability to have our lights automatically paid. We don't have to worry about water. We don't have to worry about heat. We don't have to worry about food. We are well taken care of in the hands of the system. Now it shined a light on her husband, who was unable to make a certain amount of money. Again, we're talking about from the beginning. That was the birth of, I don't need no man. I could do bad all by myself because the system got me. My kids are taken care of. You know, worse if I go get a little job that is underneath, you know, the guidelines of what is too much to make, then I really don't need him. I can go get me a little whatever kind of job. That's my extra money, my spending money. The food is taken care of. We know how to, you know, make something out of nothing. Make the money stretch. Make the food stamp stretch. The lights are paid for. The house is paid for. Or I'm paying a very small amount. He couldn't even do, you know, his manly duties and provide what I need him for. A lot of these younger women don't understand, again, that this was the birth of, I don't need a man. I could do bad all by myself. And then what happens is that then, you know, as he says, it is a cycle. It is difficult to get out of. And also, there are some places where you can't even have a man in the house. You having a man in the house will deplete your benefits. Then a lot of people broke out of this cycle. Time progressed. People start to, you know, step into different avenues. People start to step out of the realm of just the vicinity of how they grew up and are striving for more and striving for different and finding different ways to get off the system, leverage certain things. You know, you had a lot of people who were at this time who were going to the Army, to the Marines, to this, to that, to, you know, pay for school. Just a whole bunch of things started to happen. And then it birthed a lot of women who heard that they didn't need a man, that they could do better by themselves. And then it came down a generation. Then it came down again another generation. Depending on how old they were during the time of the welfare system being introduced. Then you have younger women who are able to take care of themselves. And again, I said it in a previous video, then they go to school with the mentality of, I don't need a man, I could do bad all by myself. You know, they take Cher's quote of, I am a rich man. They go for everything, and then they become the man that they're lacking. Whether that was in their home because of the demise of the relationship between the mother or their father, or finding a spouse. They emulate. They come completely out of their nature and emulate outside of their own nature, becoming the person that should be their counterpart. And then ironically enough, they're, you know, depressed, they're miserable, they're tired, they're stressed out, they're making themselves sick because they're overworking trying to be two people. Because of this mentality, you know, they're better off. Imagine, you know, there's not that woman is a perfect example of, there are some women who understand what's going on and stick it out and stay with their spouse and don't beat them while they're down. They understand the bigger things that are at play, and they keep their family unit together. These are the same women who are also raising their children differently, where their kid, you know, maybe their daughter's in school or whatever the case is, but they also teach their daughter the importance of family and balance and being a wife, where she is not on the internet, you know, you know, I'm not saying this lady in particular for a fact, but I'm just saying her having a daughter with the mentality that she had would pass down the complete opposite knowledge of, you know, work together, stay together, fix things, work it out, figure it out. As opposed to, you don't need nobody. Oh, girl, so what? If you get pregnant, you can raise that baby by yourself. I raised you. The contrary. I think that sometimes, you know, as far as we're going forward, sometimes it's important to reference the past. Not go there and stay there, but reference it and take note. Because a lot of the things that you see are constantly being perpetuated. If you look back, you say, oh, I see where that came from. But is that mine? Right? Like a lot of these younger women are carrying these burdens that don't belong to them. They're carrying certain mindsets that have nothing to do with them. Their life, their situations, their future is completely different, but they're holding the traumas of other people. And again, like I said, a lot of times making themselves sick by doing it. I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.